Welcome everybody to LIFTALK. This is episode 72, I think, and we're doing a Nationals recap. I'm here with JP, and we had a great weekend in St Kilda, in Moorabbin, actually, Melbourne, over the last few days, and there's some great lifting. APA put on a show, and we're going to go through the weight classes, what happened, what were some of the moments that kind of defined particular weight classes, and stuff that we remember fondly from the weekend. JP, you're actually going to host today because you have a little quirky idea. So why don't you tell people what the quirky idea is for today?
Well, we did the preview show, and the preview show was fun, but it was long. And we want to keep this recap on the slightly brisker side of things, but also a little bit more fun. So what we're doing is I've got all the score sheets and results up here, and Mr. Alex Hayes _process is going to raw dog it straight from the dome, straight from memory. And so we're going to go through all the weight classes like we did in the preview show, go through each of the lifters that we thought was notable, any kind of notable results, I suppose. I mean, there was lots of notable results. It was very exciting. It's a Nationals. It's the biggest event that ABA put on in terms of standard and quality. And so, yeah, Alex, the people's coach, I think you would have coached more people on that Nationals weekend than anybody else. Is that fair to say, you reckon?
Yeah, me or Jacob, I would say. Jacob had a big team. I coached 14, including 6 of my own. Claudia had 2, and then 6 babysitting duties. So yeah, like, what was there, 105 lifters, so like 12.5%, 13% of the competition.
Do you are you the kind of coach that reviews the tape? You go back and review the tape and try to assess where you went wrong and if you made mistakes, and you go, oh, now I watch that second, I shouldn't have jumped 7.5, I should have jumped 5, I was wrong.
I do, and I always go back and check the comp plan that I wrote and see where I ended up with what I wrote down. So, you know, if I gave a particular range for third attempt, where did we actually end up? Was that on the lower end? Was it in the middle? Was it at the top end? And that kind of informs how I write the following competition plan for that person. So I actually do like a comp plan review after each comp for every person I coach.
I like that. A comp plan review is that's probably a good little tip for any budding coaches out there, is review what you thought was going to happen versus what actually happened. And if there are massive differences, I suppose, in what you thought and what ended up happening, then that should be an indicator to you to go review your process. How did you actually get to your diluted attempt plan, and how can you kind of get closer to it next time?
Yeah, and I think that's something that every coach does. They get a little bit too over themselves, like a little bit too over the top with expectations, and usually what happens is people end up hitting towards the bottom end of those third attempt ranges. And, you know, even if someone does hit towards the bottom end of the third attempt ranges, but there was room in the tank, you now know next time to trust yourself that you can go middle or top end next time. So it's good to always, you know, review those type of things in your coaching, just like you review whether your program's working or not, whether different pieces of different variations are working or not, stuff like that. It's just like another element to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so before we get into the individual weight classes, share with us a little bit about how the overall experience was. You know, were you in every session, by the way?
Yeah, every single session. Yep.
So you're coaching at the back of every session. So you would have seen
2 people in every single session. Yep.
That's an awesome stat. Two in every session. So in some ways you saw everything, but in many ways you didn't see anything, because oftentimes when you're coaching, you actually don't watch a lot of what's happening on the platform. But for the people that weren't able to attend, what was the venue like? What was the atmosphere like? What was the standard like? Maybe like a bit of a broader perspective. Obviously I lifted, and I was there Saturday evening and Sunday day. But again, you know, just like a coach, when you're lifting, you're in your own world, and you don't pay attention a lot to what's going on around you. So I'd be curious to hear your zoomed out perspective of how the weekend went.
I feel like everything was really well organized. Like, I feel like they did a fantastic job of telling everyone where to be at different points, and there was no like friction between areas where people were like getting in the way, because that happens a lot at comps where there's like, it's not a very like free flowing event. And I feel like part of that was the venue, because it was big and there was enough space to kind of spread everything out. But also the other part of it was like the volunteers did such a good job, meet directors did such a good job of telling everyone where to be at what points, signage and stuff like that. But I thought the meet went fantastically. There was no sessions that weren't on time. The spot load crews were really fast. The refereeing was a very high standard the whole weekend. The MCs were great, getting the crowd involved. The commentary was great when I went back and watched. I think just like every little part of it, every little detail was national level, like kind of what you expect. Like there was nothing amateur going on, which I really do appreciate. And big shout out to everyone who did any volunteering in any capacity to make the event happen. I thought it was outstanding.
Yeah, and a big shout out has to go to Michael Porsovigan, who was the meet director. It's always difficult meet directing a competition that's not at your home venue, so you're having to do logistics, hire trucks, move equipment, deal with personnel at the venue on what you can do, what you can't do. And also you're doing it on behalf of APA, so you're also having to deal with APA people and trying to liaise and coordinate money and coordinate all the kind of logistical things. So yeah, kudos to Michael and the whole APA team. I'd agree. Great nationals, very smooth event. Yeah, like you said, no delays, nothing like that. The warm-up room was enormous. Very big contrast to say mega nationals from last year, for example. Very comfortable, I suppose. We were quite fortunate with the weather. It wasn't too hot. It was comfortable. It wasn't raining. For those that weren't there, the warm-up room, especially on day one, to get from the warm-up area to the lifting area, I suppose, was like a short walk, maybe like 50-meter walk outdoors. So if that was a wet and rainy day, it would have been a little bit more miserable. So a little bit of good luck in that sense. But yeah, overall good result. Okay,
yeah. There's a few people in particular. So you shouted out Michael, who meet directed from ESS. The few other people to thank, like obviously Abby, the amount of work that she does behind the scenes is just ridiculous. And Jason Raby is probably the other one who just had his hand in every pie doing everything over the weekend. Like I know Abby and Jason in particular and Michael were staying back a few hours each night after lifting finished to make sure that everything was where it needed to be and ready for the next day. So big shout out to all of them. Hopefully they're listening. Good job. And hopefully other people can step up and help you guys out next time or take some of your work.
Yeah, definitely. Abby, the managing director, and Jason also a lot of work. When I saw Michael on the Friday, I looked at him and was like, dude, what time did you leave here last night? And he was like, we got out of here at 9 p.m. What time did you get here in the morning? 6 a.m. I'm like, that's rough. So yeah, it's hard work. Okay, let's go through the weight classes. And what I thought we'd do is rather than go women first, men first, or men then men later or anything like that, I thought we'd do it in chronological order. All right, let's do it day one. Day one, session one. It was who was it, Alex? Do you remember?
I do. Session 1, 47 women, 52 women, 66 men.
So we have 3 weight classes in the morning session, and it was a good one. It was a great session. You had at least 2 people you were taking care of, I can think of.
I had 3, yep.
Who am I missing?
Frankie in the 47s.
Yep. So Frankie Jessica in the 47s, Liz Craven, who's that, in the 52s, and you're taking care of Josh Liu in the 66ers. So you had 1 in each weight class, actually.
Yep. So this one, I was actually quite aware of what was going on. A lot of the other classes, I was taking care of someone who was not in contention for the win and was kind of in the middle, and I was trying to get them up the placings as far as we could. So we weren't even looking at really what was going on first, second, third in some of those instances. But in the instance of the first session, we had Liz who... how do you want to do this?
Maybe let's go through 47s first.
Okay. So I had Frankie in the 47s. Initially, we were looking at, okay, maybe we can get her on the podium. The first 2 spots, as we spoke about in the recap show, were pretty much locked in, given they made their openers, which was Vicky and Ainsley. That is how it played out. Vicky actually had a 5 for 9 day and totaled 400 kilos on the dot, which is actually 1 kilo more than she did last year at Nationals, despite going 8 for 9 and only missing 1 lift at last year's Nationals. So to go 5 for 9 and actually put up a better performance than last year's Nationals is actually...
I want to interrupt you and just remind everybody that Alex doesn't have the score sheet in front of him. He's not cheating. He's raw dogging this, and he's correct. 5 from 9, 400 kilo total. The Rain Man.
Yeah. So 1 kilo better than last year's total. A few missed lifts. Really does show that Vicky is a lot better than this performance. And I know she's disappointed with this performance in particular. And obviously she's going to be going to Dubai, where she's going to get herself another medal for Australia. And, hopefully put up an all-time best total over there. Second by, again, another quite a big margin was Ainsley Jones, who, as we spoke about in the recap show, was looking to extend her own squat record. Previously was 145.5. She did 146.0, and she actually blew it up. Like, it was actually really comfortable, really cruisy. It's impressive how much of her squat she's been able to hold on to going down to 47s. She squatted 150.0 last year at Nationals, which was 3 white lights. It did not count as a national record because she then bombed on bench press. So, I mean, only 4 kilos less in a whole year, dropping a whole weight class is really, really impressive stuff. So Ainsley also won her ticket to Worlds because she ranked high enough on the Carpino to make it to the top 8. So provided she wants to go, she'll be donning the green and gold, which is awesome for her. And I'm sure which is actually what she wanted out of going down to the 47 class initially. She wanted to get to Worlds, and she's achieved that now, provided she wants to go. And then there was a bit of a race for third place. It was between Pravina, Francesca, and Jess. And I did say this in the preview show that Pravina was kind of one to look out for because she was actually nominated in 5th place. And, you know, she aged out of juniors and has gone up from the 43 kilo class, which obviously doesn't exist in opens, up to the 47 kilo class. And as I pondered in the preview show, there was probably going to be some progress made, and there was. And she ended up, I don't know her exact numbers, but she ended up making all 3 squats. And literally after the squats, it was like, okay, she's going to be too far away for us to catch, for Frankie to catch. So, yeah, Pravina, fantastic performance, lots of improvement, and she's going to continue to improve being, you know, lighter than the weight class limit and young. So lots and lots of room for progression for Pravina. And 4th and 5th, Francesca was in 4th, totaled 335, had an 8 for 9 day, just missing 1 bench press attempt at 75 kilos. Otherwise, she was outstanding, and the plan from her coach, Jason Clark, we pretty much ran it to the T, and she executed like a champion. And then coming in 5th was Jessica. I don't know her numbers off the top of my head. Maybe you're going to have to say those ones, but I think I did pretty well there.
Understandable. 5th place, Jess Lee with 325, and 6th place, Leah Ibrahim with 290 kilos. Before we go on, I wanted to interrupt you, but you're on such a roll. But you mentioned that Ainsley has punched her ticket to Worlds, and you mentioned Carpino score. Can you briefly explain to the viewers? Because in the preview show, we talked about, you know, the things, what's on the line. National title, of awesome to be able to call yourself an Australian champion, but importantly, practically, is going to Worlds. People were looking to punch a ticket to Worlds. So can you explain to us why Ainsley gets a ticket to Worlds, even though she came second in her weight class?
So the Carpino method is basically a way to standardize performance across the board. And the way the calculation works, it's the average of the 3rd place finishes from the 3 previous world championships. So you add the bronze medalist from 2025, from 2024, from 2023, divided by 3, and that gives you a total. And then we're looking for the people who hit the highest percentage of that total in their respective weight classes. We then rank those people, and we get a list. But in order to actually be on that list, you have to hit the World's QT as well. So for the women, there were actually 11 women who hit the World's QT. And yeah, the top 8 were not necessarily from 8 different weight classes. There was actually 2 from the 47 in there and 2 from the 52 in there.
Right. So even though someone may have won their weight class, they might not go to Worlds because they'll get displaced by Ainsley, for example. Is that
Yeah, that's right.
Understood, correct?
Yep.
And so does that mean we didn't know that Ainsley was going to go to Worlds until the whole contest had finished? Because what happens if all 8 winners had blown up their Carpino scores as well? Then it would go to the winners. But you're saying that given that someone doesn't hit a good enough Carpino score, then it'll go to whoever's got the next best Carpino score.
Yes, that's right. So that is one of the weaknesses of Carpino, is that if you are lifting later in the championships, you can run the maths and you can pick the number to ensure that you rank ahead of someone else who's already lifted, which, you know, that's probably the biggest weakness of the method. But yeah, that is true. So Ainsley, having lifted first, she was actually at a disadvantage. So some of the other lifters who lifted later could have, you know, done the maths and ran the numbers and totaled a little bit extra to ensure that they ranked ahead of her. I think she actually ended up ranking 4th on the Carpino as well, so she was a long way away from getting displaced.
It's funny that you say that lifting earlier in the weekend is a disadvantage in this scoring system, but only 2 people who came second scored well, and they were 47-52. So they were like the first 2 lifters of the whole weekend, and they're the ones that actually perform well. Okay, so
yeah, only 3, only 8 people of the women actually hit the QT. So only 3 second place finishers hit the QT.
Right.
And all the winners hit the QT.
Right. The women are actually really high standard. I've got, for those listening, I've got a bit of a quiz later on for Alex with some fun facts, and some of those results are going to be discussed later on. Okay, so congratulations to Vicky Kay, Australian champion for like the 43rd time or something.
I think it's probably her 5th now. Yeah, 5th or 5th. Yep.
52 kilo women. Talk us through it, Alex. Who are you coaching, and how did they go?
So I had Liz, who ended up winning her 12th national title, which is
that a 12th open
crazy.
Title or 12th national including masters?
12th open title. She doesn't.
That's actually insane.
So 12th open title for Liz. It was actually quite a close battle with Kate Nax, Katarini. I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name. You can try. Let's go again.
Chorianopoulou.
That's good. What JP said.
Do you really know it's good? You're not Greek, so.
My wife's Greek, so I'll ask her.
True, yeah.
So Kate and Liz had a pretty tight battle where, unfortunately, Liz missed her 3rd squat on strength to try and get a chip advantage. We went 150.5, and she went way too Robert Wilkes and fucking dropped it into the hole and couldn't get out, and didn't control herself and manage her balance as well as she should have, so just missed it. And then Kate went after her. She did 151.0, and she stood up with it. It was a really nice squat, and unfortunately got overruled by the jury. So she got 1 red light on the platform for depth, and then it was reviewed by the jury and overruled, which lost her 6 kilos. So they jumped from 145 to 151.0. And at that point, we were kind of like, oh, well, Liz is pretty likely to win from here. She just has to kind of like put together some lifts, and she should have it wrapped up by the 2nd deadlift. If Kate had made that 3rd squat, we would have definitely been pulling for the win. Kate and Liz both benched really well. I think Kate got 92.5, Liz got 87.5. And then they both made their first 2 deadlifts. Kate went to try and put herself ahead of Liz. I believe she tried 170 and got it just above the knee and couldn't quite finish. And then that gave us...
Yep.
It was 175?
Yeah, to get in the lead, yep.
Yeah, so they attempted 175, which I believe was a 10 kilo jump to get them into the lead. And like I said, got stuck just above the knee, and she wasn't able to finish it, which gave us a free run at the end to do whatever we wanted. And we decided to chip the deadlift record and get Liz her deadlift record back, and give her also a 2.5 kilo total record. So Liz 420.5, all-time bench press PB at 52, all-time deadlift PB at 52. Not quite there on the squat, but we'll get back to there at Worlds. And punched her ticket to Dubai as well. She will be going, which is her first Worlds in a while, first Open Worlds in a while. And she's obviously in M2 now, which is super cool. And Kate in second, 402.5, with a couple of misses. So, potential to do somewhere in the 410s by Worlds time, which is super cool. Also punched her ticket to Worlds, hit the QT. And in third, we had Annabelle to Cruz. And like I said, when I was coaching, I was kind of only concerned about the people who were near the people I was coaching. So I will not be able to tell you her numbers. I think she did somewhere in the 380s.
Good guess, 385.
Okay, good guess. Maybe you can talk about Annabelle and how she did, because you got the score sheet in front of you.
Annabelle, 3rd place. Like we said, it was going to be a 2-horse race for that 52 kilo gold medals between Kate Nax and Liz. And the score sheet can often be deceiving, right? Because Liz won by 17 kilos, but 18 kilos. But a little bit deceiving, like if Kate got her last squat and then she didn't deadlift, she wouldn't have needed 175 as a deadlift. She might have only taken 172 or 170, and then Liz would have had to execute her 3rd deadlift. And when the pressure's on, mistakes can happen. So a little bit deceiving, that 18 kilo gap, I would say. And then 17 and a half kilos behind, Annabelle de Cruz in bronze medal. So congratulations to her. 8 out of 9 day. And then rounding out the pack, we have Jenny Chan on 342.5 and Amanda Lay on 340 kilos. So 5 lifters in that group. And it was taken out by, well, I mean, who else but Liz Craven?
Yeah, she's undefeated. I was talking to Jason this morning, and there is an IPF rule that M3s cannot compete at nationals and at worlds, like as in the open class. And I was thinking we're gonna have to get that rule changed because she hasn't been beaten now. Who's gonna beat her in the next 9 years? Yeah,
exactly right. So once you turn 60, you can't lift in the opens, and also you can't lift as an open if you're under 19 as well. So if the masters are mogging us, then we got to let the masters mog us. We can't just we just can't ban them. A little bit of a fun fact for
it would be pretty it would be pretty strange for someone to be like ranked first in a weight class, but like ineligible to compete in the weight class in the age group.
Right, like it would be a bit of an empty win, right? Little fun fact. So Liz Craven's total was 420.5, as you said, and in 2016. She broke the world record in this weight class. The open world record, mind you, not the Masters world record, the open world record in 2016. Do you remember what total it was, Alex?
Christchurch, 421.
The funny thing is she has so many results within like 8 kilos of each other.
I know.
Like if you look at her open powerlifting, it's like they're all like 419, 421, 421.5. No, it was 418.5.
Okay.
418.5. And then 4 months later did 419, broke the world record again. And then that was her second attempt deadlift. And then her third attempt deadlift, she got 424 because like it marks every deadlift as a new total world record. So anyway, she did 424 in, what's that American one in Ohio? The Arnold
Grand Prix, yeah. That's still her best comp ever at 52, is that comp.
Yeah.
That's the goal, is to beat that at Worlds.
Awesome. 424. Let's do that. 425. Make it round. Okay, and I forgot another little quiz question for you in the 47 kilo women. So there were 6 women in that 47 kilo class, Alex. They all have one thing in common. Well, they probably have multiple things in common. Other than being 47 kilo lifters, they have something in common about themselves. Could you identify what that might be? All 6 of them. It's a very hard one. It's a bit vague. They're all from New South Wales. All 6 of the 47s were New South Wales lifters.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like Vicky Kay, Ainsley, Pravina, Frankie, Jess Lee, Lee Abraham, all from New South Wales.
Well, Frankie's from New Zealand, so she doesn't count.
Right. Okay. Well, boo. There was a few intruders actually into our Australian champions.
2 Kiwi national champions.
Yeah. A few intruders. All right. In the morning session, 66 kilo men. Awesome session. You were taking care of someone close to my heart, Josh Liu. And it was an awesome battle. And this is probably the one that was the biggest upset, I suppose, or the one that we weren't so expecting the result. Biggest surprise.
Yeah, so Julian actually won the 66 kilo class, which I think there was like about 100 people who did the fantasy. And I don't think a single person picked Julian. And unless maybe his own coach did or something. But like he was nominated with 627.5, I believe. And Josh was at 630. And Chris Yip was nominated at 660. I mean, I honestly thought that Chris would walk away with this. Didn't execute well, missing 2 deadlifts, kind of left the door open for Josh and Julian to sneak in. Julian actually pulled himself into first on his second deadlift. How was it? 267.5, is that right?
265, yeah.
265. And then Josh pulled himself into second on his second deadlift at 272.5, which was 2.5, put him 2.5 below Julian. And at that point, I was kind of expecting like Chris would just make his second deadlift, and put himself too far in front to be caught. He missed. Julian was all of a sudden in first and pulling first out of the 3 of them to extend his lead. Missed his third deadlift on, I'm not really sure what, because he did lock it out, but then he got like 3 different colored cards, and I'm not too sure why he missed it. It was like, definitely messy.
I think, it was a messy. I think it was one of those ones where it was just vaguely not great. Like shoulders weren't quite locked and knees weren't quite locked, and maybe a bit of downward. Yeah, it wasn't clean. at all. But it was close. Like, he physically
And
lifted it.
it was like extremely close. So he misses that, and then Josh goes next to put himself not only into first, but also a little bit ahead of what he needed to try and force Chris to then do too much. And Josh got all the way to the top and didn't quite get his shoulders locked because his grip was going. And then Chris came out and pulled essentially for the win, and again couldn't quite lock it out. The shoulders were rounded forward. Probably similar to Josh because he couldn't quite hold on to it. So a really interesting finish to that one, with Julian being the one out of the three of them who executed the best from the start to finish, and very well deserved national championship.
Yeah, I don't think anybody saw this coming. Chris Yip coming in third. A number of years ago, I presented a seminar for a powerlifting summit, and it was all about comp day coaching and strategy. And one of the case studies, or one of the ideas that I explained in that seminar and workshop, was the idea of, if you're the favorite, the only way you can lose is by missing your deadlifts. Like, it's the only way. And the case study that I used at the time was Brett Gibbs' Worlds, maybe it was 2017, where he lost to a guy from Kazakhstan. I'm going to get some of those details not quite right. But in that Worlds, Brett was a favorite. I think he might have been 7 out of 7 after the first deadlift. And so was his opponent, but his opponent was far behind. And he jumped 22 kilos from first to second, missed it twice. And then the other guy on the last deadlift, like, made up ground and then went 9 out of 9 and ended up winning Worlds. And so, kind of like what I said earlier about, Liz versus Kate Nax, on the score sheet, she won by 20 kilos in nearly. It looks really one-sided, but so much can happen if you just mis-execute, mis-groove, something's just not quite there, because Chris Yip lost, but he was actually 6 out of 6. Now, he missed his second squat, I will say, but then he jumped 5 kilos and got it. So he kind of, he got his third squat, he got his third bench, so he wasn't like particularly behind on where he might have been expecting to be. But the only way that you lose when you're the favorite is to go 1 out of 3 on deadlifts. It's like the biggest risk. And that's exactly what happened. He missed his second and third deadlift, 17.5 kilo jump. If he just made that second attempt deadlift, he would have jumped 17 kilos and he would have won, like, comfortably. But it just wasn't to be. And yeah, Julian Sgro's a worthy Australian champion for sure.
And yeah, just like we were speaking about earlier with the Carpino, Julian's actually not ranked high enough to get the World's invite, but he is the national champion. So I hope he's looking to do maybe Commonwealths or Oceanias later in the year and represent Australia, and perhaps next year get himself up that Carpino ranking and make it to Worlds.
Just rounding out the 66 kilo lifters, there was 9 lifters, so I'll mention them briefly. Zach Torrevias was in 4th with 612.5. John Chan was in 5th with 600. Vin Nguyen with 580 in 6th. Ezra Duma with 572.5 in 7th. Ray Wong in 8th with 567.5. And Leo Lee with 527.5 rounds it off in 9th. So great session. The 66 kilo boys, obviously a weight class that is also close to my heart, as one that I competed in for many years, and just good to see the standards so high. And that's just a great reminder to start the weekend that no one is safe and that any result is possible.
Yeah, truly. That was the most, I think, wild upset of the weekend. And yeah, huge shout out to Julian. I think the only people who really saw him coming were his own coaches and his own game day handlers. And yeah, well deserved.
Okay, session 2 on the Friday.
So we had the 57 kilo women and the 74 kilo men. So I had you in this one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And I had...
We'll just skip over it very briefly.
Yeah. So in the 57s, we were really looking forward to a head-to-head battle between Sophie Dobson and Sammy Kratz. And very early on, after Sophie missed her second squat, I believe on depth, it was pretty much Sammy domination from there. She was outstanding, going 8 for 8 and then not coming out for her final deadlift because her second deadlift gave her the world's QT. And she is in that top 8 in the Carpino, so she will be...
Did Sammy not come out for a third deadlift? I thought she did.
I don't think she did because it's only a 2.5 jump. I don't think there was any need.
No, I'm pretty sure I've seen her come out for the third deadlift and she just failed it.
Okay.
Maybe
Well,
I'm mixing up my memories, but
I swear she didn't, but maybe you're right. Either way, she wrapped it up with her. Honestly, she wrapped up the win with her first deadlift. She wrapped up the world's QT with her second deadlift, and whether or not she came up for a third is kind of irrelevant because she's punched her ticket to worlds. And really, really impressive. 12.5 kilo total PR for her. Just made improvements across the board, and like just really executed and just did her job, and very well deserving national champion. So shout out to Sammy. Now I'm actually not too sure what happened in the middle in the meat and potatoes of this comp. I'm not even sure if Sophie came second. So you're gonna have to help the people out here listening.
so Sophie did come second. She totaled 410. So again, kind of like what we spoke earlier, this is going to be a common theme, I guess, across a lot of the weight classes, is 27.5 kilos behind Sammy. So it looks like a big gap. But Sophie had a rough day. She only got one squat and missed her second and third squat. So she squatted 132.5, missed 137.5. And then she also missed her last deadlift, which would have been an Australian record, 193.5. So she finished on 410. And do you remember who came third, also on 410, Alex?
Daisy Brooks came third.
Nailed it.
She was awesome from start to finish. I believe 9 for 9.
7.
Okay.
So she missed her third bench on 92.5. And so you got to think, dear viewer.
I feel like that was depth, or it was something not strength.
The 92.5?
Yeah.
It may very well have been. I haven't gone through all the streams yet. But going into the third round of deadlifts, Sophie and Daisy they're tied at 410. And Daisy was successful with 165 on the second deadlift. And so to take the lead, they've gone up by 5 kilos, which would have been enough to give her 415. And then would have asked Sophie, you've also got to go up 5. But unfortunately, she just couldn't quite get there. I don't remember if she locked it out and got one white light, for example, or if she, sorry, a bit of a distraction there. My headphones died. Or if she just straight up failed it and couldn't lock it out. But nevertheless, she missed her last deadlift. And so when it got around to Sophie's deadlift, she wasn't really pulling for any placing because she'd locked up the silver. And so she went for the Australian record and ended up missing that one. So a really tight battle for second and third with Sophie and Daisy both on 410.
Yeah. Shout out to Sammy Kratz. Dominating performance, 437.5, hitting the world's QT, getting herself to Dubai for World Championships.
So yeah, the 57 kilo class, tight battle there with 437.5, 410, 410. And this was like our biggest group. I think we had 10 lifters in this weight class. Should I go through quickly read the results of every lifter?
Yep, sure.
Let's do it. So fourth place, Justine Bouvelo with 402.5, Natalie Jenner with 395, Alicia Cantello with 392.5, 387.5, only 5 below that was Jessica Chai, 382.5 was Kaina Grace Hoven, and Claudia O'Shea with 360. And so this was the weight class that we spoke about in the preview where we said there's actually a lot of girls here that could all kind of finish between 4th and 8th effectively. And that's what the score sheet kind of shows, because it was 395 to 382.5 was 5th to 8th. So 4 girls there within 12.5 kilos. And there's a lot of misses in there as well. So it could have really kind of landed in any direction.
Yeah. It was very, very closely contested. And a lot of those lifters towards the bottom of the list are, either coming out of juniors or coming up from the 52s and, have a lot of potential for, what they're going to be capable of next year. So expect, those lifters towards the bottom to push up and continue to force the ones who are above them to continue to progress.
Okay, the 74 kilo men's, the highlight, the biggest couple of hours of the whole weekend.
For you,
yours truly, yours, it really was actually. Yours truly,
so,
JP Kauki, not in first place.
So, 74s, we kind of figured if Kian is able to execute, he will win. And he did. I don't know if he went 8 for 9 or 9 for 9. I know he made his third squat and his third deadlift. I don't know if he made 3 benches. Can you just double check?
Correcto. He missed his last bench of 177.5.
Okay, so he was able to extend the total record, Leo's total record, to 750.5. And he briefly held the deadlift record of 305.5, which we'll get to shortly. But Kian for me was probably the most outstanding male performance of the weekend. Came in, he just executed. His third squat was actually quite comfy. His third deadlift was quite comfy, and he looked like he had a lot more. And he just looks like he's getting better every single comp and getting not just stronger every comp, but becoming a better powerlifter and a better executor every single comp. And I'm just so impressed with Kian because, last year going into nationals, the preview show, Matt and I were kind of like, we don't really know what to expect. Like he's had comps where he hasn't been executing. He's had comps where he's looked really great and then kind of fallen short. And then he proved us wrong with his nationals performance last year. Absolutely crushed it. Went on to Worlds, crushed it. Now he's just leveling up each time and just getting better at each competition. So huge shout out to Kian. Like outstanding performance. Enough for best lifter as well. I think 110 GL points, 110.3 or something GL points. Just like, awesome. Second place, actually a little bit away from third and a little bit away from second. So a bit of a gap between first and second was Edward Zhang, who was, again, fantastic from start to finish. I believe he went 9 for 9. And I can't remember the specific numbers. I think he squatted like 270, benched 172. Is that right? 170? What did he bench?
Sorry, 177.5. I figured it out.
There we go.
There we go. Apologies, everybody.
Yeah, so Edward Zhang.
Yes, Edward Zhang with 177.5. And do you remember what he deadlifted?
Half bench. I think he did about 280. Is that right?
277.5. He loves the 7.7.5s.
Okay. And he did 725, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, 725. You're impressing me. Okay. I'm not easily impressed.
So that was enough for him to comfortably take second place with third place Alan Zhu. Not quite even going for that silver medal, just solidifying himself with the bronze. Alan, a big bench presser, big deadlifter combo. He made 3 benches, he made 3 deadlifts, and he did enough on his final deadlift to push him to 705, which put you out of contention for bronze, unfortunately. Now, you had a good day after squats were over. Bench turned up really well, benching 140, but unfortunately getting a jury overruling. So losing 7.5 kilos there was a bit of a pain in the ass because that may have actually kept you in contention or within room to actually go for that bronze at the end. But because you finished with 691.0, Alan was 705, we would have needed an extra 14.5 kilos because you were heavier to beat Alan, which would have been 320.5, which would have been too much. So we decided to just take Kian's deadlift record from him, do 306, which I believe is an all-time deadlift PB for you, or close.
Very close. I've done 307 in comp at 77, and I've done 307.5 at 82.5. So kind of floating around those numbers for a while. But
yeah, so if you were able to get some extra kilos, like, an extra 2.5 to 5 on squat, an extra, you just not have your hips come up on that bench press, then it would have been, Alan probably would have taken a little bit extra on that deadlift to push you a little bit further because his third deadlift was actually quite comfy by memory. And, we would have seen a little bit of a battle for the podium at the end, but so be it. You did really well, 4th place. I know you had a good experience. Do you want to talk to people about your experience at Nationals, your first proper Nationals in 7 years?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned even in the previous show, I was just excited to be at a Nationals again because it's been a while, like you mentioned, since 2019 more or less, that I lifted at a Nationals. So I was just looking forward to the seriousness of it. I've done so many local meets since then, the level, and also just the battle, like actually, being a little bit under the pump, having to make lifts that matter. So it was a little bit of a shame, like you mentioned, that I wasn't really in contention when the deadlifts rolled around. Like it was just a little bit too far. But I mean, the whole experience was awesome, and kudos to the guys that took out the podium because they're just freaking phenomenal athletes. I mean, even Edward to do 725 is just so much at 74. Like that is just such a good total. Of course, Kian, the highlight of an athlete. I think one thing I would do want to say about Kian is it was so interesting being in the warm-up room with him because he was locked in like you wouldn't believe. Like I've lifted with good lifters. I've shared platforms with world champions, and he acts like one. He really was just so locked in. He's really friendly. I've met him prior to nationals, and he's been so respectful and polite and genuine with me. But he was borderline rude. Now, I'm not saying he was rude, because if you don't know him, you would think he was rude, but he wasn't. He was just so locked in, headphones in, didn't make eye contact, was just in the zone, was like bopping up and down when it needed to during warm-ups with his headphones in. He did his 70 kilo deadlift warm-up, and he literally turned to Mark Jarek and said, "Oh, I'm on today." And Mark kind of laughed and looked at me and said, who can really tell that they're on with a 70 kilo deadlift? I'm like, man, when you're on, you're on. Like, you just know. And it might seem insane to know that you're on when you've deadlifted 70, but like, yeah, it was just awesome to watch. So I was very privileged to obviously have that behind the scenes spectator view of such a phenomenal athlete as well. So that was really, really awesome. And it was just good to be part of. And the boys better be ready, because next year that podium spot's mine.
Oh, he's calling it out, even with Stephen Day coming back. And Leo.
Don't worry about Stephen Day. I'm very worried about Stephen Day. I'm also very worried about Leo.
Leo and you're not going to be.
Oh, I forgot about those two. Oh no, I'm going to need to do like 750 on the podium.
And Ed's like only 24, so he's getting better.
He's still improving. I'm old and I'm battered. Man, wouldn't that be sick if there was a Leo, Stephen Day, Kian podium? I mean, and they all went 750. Like, imagine best male lifter, second best male lifter, and third best male lifter all in the same weight class. Like, that's not crazy.
The other cool thing about this comp is Kian did 750.5, which is half a kilo more than Steven's best ever total, which was done at a local comp. But that makes him the number one ranked 74 in Australian history.
Yep.
Which is
I
sick.
took that personally. It's funny because it wasn't personal. It was just that happened to be the deadlift record, but it's very poetic that he got 750.5.
It lined up properly. I wonder if he needed set 308 if he would have done 308.
Yeah.
Probably.
If that was in the back of his mind. So yeah, the podium, Kian, Australian champion, Edward Zhang, 725, Alan Zhu, 705. Myself in fourth with 691, 20 kilos behind Misha Baukas with 670. And then Chad Oddsey with 647.5, Jason Seacout with 615, and Jared Kinto with 592.5. So a bit of a spread actually on all the lifters. Like, there was about 20 kilos gap every time. So not a lot of like tight battles in the 74s, unfortunately, but it was a good session nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Saturday morning, Alexander. Who did we see lifting on Saturday morning?
So we had the 63s and we had the 83s.
63 kilo women.
So 63 kilo women, cardio coach is Shireen, who came fifth. So I wasn't super locked into what was going on at the top of this battle. I do know that Begsy went 9 for 9 and hit the world's QT on the nose, and did enough to win. Did she get her final deadlift or no?
Yeah, 909.
And she did 475, is that correct?
475, yes.
Yeah, so I'm fairly sure that 475 is the world's QT in the 63 class. And yeah, she had a stellar day. She just keeps getting better every comp. Like, if you look through her open powerlifting, like, she's just making very steady improvements every single comp. She executes. She makes smart decisions. She's just a really, really, really professional lifter, and I'm always really impressed with her. And she's really fun to watch. So shout out to her. She was great. For second place, when we did the preview show, we were looking at a bit of a race between Angelica and Rachel. And Rachel missed 2 squats. She missed her... I can't remember whether it was just strength or whether it was depth, but she missed 2 squats, which pretty much put her out of contention for silver at that point. And they were, at that point, trying to push for bronze. So Angelica kind of ran away with second place. I can't remember the exact numbers, but she executed really well and put together a really good day and finished second pretty comfortably. But it was actually Basira who was able to get the bronze medal in the 63 kilo class, because she was able to execute earlier on the day and take advantage of the bigger subtotal, where Rachel was pulling for the bronze medal on her final deadlift and was unsuccessful. So she finished in fourth, Basira finished in third, Angelica second. Is that right?
Correcto. So Kathleen Beggs, 475. Like you mentioned, absolute executioner, 9 out of 9 day. Perfect result. Angelica Fajardo with 445 in silver. And then Basira Khan with 432.5 in bronze. So, and then Rachel Chin in fourth. And as you mentioned, Rachel only got 1 squat. She got no lift with second attempt of 152.5. Her opener was 140. So 12.5 kilos, no lift. And then 152.5 on the third attempt, reattempted. Was initially a good lift, overturned by the jury.
I remember that now. Yeah, it was depth. I remember that now. Heartbreaking.
Yeah. So just lost 12.5 kilos there. And as you said, when you lose 12.5 kilos, when you effectively walk away with one squat, it's very hard to be competitive.
Especially because what we spoke about with the previous show is that Angelica and Rachel were separated by only like 2.5 on squat and only 2.5 on bench. So they pretty much had to match each other through the session. And I'm fairly sure Angelica squatted 160 or 157.5. So that just put her like miles ahead of where Rachel was or was expecting to be.
And so, like, again, on the score sheet, Rachel finished 17.5 behind Basira Khan. But she took an 18 kilo jump from second deadlift to last deadlift. So when she went, 18 kilo jump implies Australian record. So she went for Australian record deadlift with 213. Obviously, it was a no lift. But had she had made that second squat, or even the third squat, which was then later turned over, if she'd made that, she wouldn't have needed an 18 kilo jump. She would have only needed a 12.5 kilo jump.
6.0.
So, yes, exactly.
5.5.
Yes, so it would have needed 7.5 because she was obviously it wouldn't have been a record.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been a record.
Yeah. So she would have only needed a 7.5 kilo jump rather than a 18 kilo jump. But I mean, we'll never know now. We'll never know what the result could have been. So it could have been a different podium, someone else, a different lifter walking home with a medal.
I've got a question for you, JP. In your professional opinion, do you think it's important to make lifts?
Look, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to refer to my opinion as very professional. But I do get the sense that making lifts helps. It seems to be a common denominator, actually.
It's something I'm noticing.
There is a bit of a trend.
I think I've noticed.
Unless your name is Vicky K. Unless your name is Vicky K, in which case you can just miss lifts and you're all good. You're gravy.
Vicky's reminded me of the year that Stephen went 3 for 9 at Nationals and won Best Lifter.
Did he really? That's insane.
Yeah, 2022, yeah.
I did not know that. That is an awesome stat. Yeah, well, unless your name is Stephen Day, then you don't need to make lifts. You do need your biceps to be intact, unfortunately. Sad reaction.
That's mean.
Man,
that's
so
mean.
sad. I say that in jest, but I say it with also deep sadness in my heart. God, it's so unlucky. Like, it couldn't have happened a week later. Like literally 5 days later. Anyway.
Wouldn't that be worse? Because then he'd be in Worlds Prep. That would probably be just as annoying.
Yeah, I guess so. But
like,
at least
I got through a comp and I won, and then now I can't go to Worlds.
Yeah, but I'd rather have won nationals. That assumes he was gonna. I mean, we don't know. I mean, I don't think he may have. I don't know. We'll never know.
He probably thinks he would have won, which is he has that self belief.
It's almost a bit comforting though to see Keane put up such a good result because you're like, okay, well, it's not clear. Whereas if Keane like fumbled in total 730, then Stephen Day would be even more so. Like, I mean, can you be more disappointed? I don't know.
There's no doubt in my mind that Stephen thinks he can total more than 750. Like, he's that kind of lifter. He's just so confident in his abilities.
Built different. And so rounding out the 63 kilo women, again, we had 8 lifters in this category. So 5th place was Shireen Halley, your lifter that you were coaching on the day. She totaled 402.5. Lily No with 392.5. Anna McRae on 387.5. And Samantha Huang with 372.5. We also saw the 83 kilo men. I know, Alex, that you were coaching Kelvin in this session. We also had City Strength's very own Kana Chambara in this session. So talk us through the 83 kilo men. So
we kind of figured that Kana would run away with this. He did, but it was not as probably convincing as it could have been, with Kavwa missing a couple of lifts. Otherwise he would have been a lot closer. Kavwa came in a lot stronger than sort of his qualifying total. I think he was nominated at 745, and I think he did a 763. Is that correct?
That's amazing. Yeah, 763 actually.
So he did 763, missing his third squat on depth, which was a 10 kilo jump, and his third bench, which was overruled by the jury, which was 193.
Yep. Are you really not cheating? Like, this is actually, like, I've always known you to be good, but this is
cheating.
This is disturbingly good.
So I think, Kana missed a bench press as well, which was quite a big jump. I think a 10 kilo jump, 177 to 187. and he missed his final deadlift, which was kind of just a free roll, doing whatever he liked. But, you know, Carver was actually reasonably close. And I think, you know, Carver's competed in the 66 and the 74 class more than he has competed in the 83 class. And I think more time as an 83, I think we'll look at him doing close to 800 in some time, if he can, you know, clean up some of those technical errors that he made. So, yeah, really, really impressed with Carver. He kind of did enough to force himself into silver, and no one could really catch him. We were kind of expecting Diego would be a pretty solid choice for a silver medalist, but, you know, Carver just made enough progress to do more than what Diego was able to do on the day. And I'm not sure whether Diego had missed lifts or not. I know he missed his second deadlift, but I don't know what happened prior to that. And I believe he finished with 745.
762.5. So third place was Diego Florenca, 762.5, and Carver was in 763. So Carver was half a kilo ahead. But interestingly, Diego missed his second deadlift of 317.5, repeated it, having lifted after Carver, because Carver's last deadlift was 305. So Diego was like effectively last to lift in this context. 317.5, got it, and finished in bronze. But he was already in bronze, so he was never going to lose bronze because fourth place, Calvin Tran, was a little bit behind.
So wait, hang on. So Diego was only half a kilo behind Carver, and he went after him. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
So he could have done 320 and got into silver.
Correct. The only thing that I'm thinking, and you'll only know this because I wasn't there, is Calvin. Could Calvin have finished in bronze if Calvin got his deadlift and Diego missed his deadlift?
So Calvin went after Diego because of lot numbers. So if Diego had missed, the 317.5 would have put Calvin into bronze.
Yeah, so like let's say, for example, if Diego changed to 320 to go for bronze, then Calvin goes first, gets 317. Now his total is 747.5.
Yep.
And Diego misses 320. No, Diego still would have been bronze, right? Like they were too far.
Yeah, I think we actually would have needed 320.
745. Oh, maybe that's what's happening. Okay, I'm understanding what's going on, everybody. This was a close one. It was a weird position for Diego to be in because he could have gone for silver, but also had to defend bronze. He had already missed the second deadlift, so they chose to repeat. Because if Kelvin wasn't in the race, then Diego might have gone for 320 and gone for silver. But I guess in some sense they had to defend their bronze medal position also. And if they went to 320 and missed and Kelvin hit, then they would have finished in fourth.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact numbers, but I'm fairly sure I was waiting to see if Diego made, and then we needed to change to 320, which would have given Kelvin bronze.
Well, they finished on 762. They finished on 762.5, and they took a 17.5 kilo jump. So if Diego missed his third deadlift, he would have been on 745.
Yeah, so 317 was what we needed then.
Yeah, 17 was what you needed, exactly right.
Yeah,
because you were heavier. So that's what I'm saying. Like when I realized, I was like, okay, actually, Diego could have gone for silver, but he also could have finished in fourth if he went for it and missed, and Kelvin hit. But Kelvin didn't hit because Kelvin went second. So it was actually really complicated. And I know for the listener, you're just hearing a bunch of names and numbers, but it was very, very close, I suppose, in that sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables going on, body weight, lot number, this, that. And I can't even remember exactly what was happening. But I know that if Diego missed, we were going for the podium. And Kelvin missed anyway. I don't even think it left the floor. So
it didn't leave the floor.
Diego was no risk of losing his podium spot.
And so fourth place, Kelvin Tran, 730. Fifth place, Brian Kimutai with 727.5. So quite close there. Will Warden with 722.5 in the sixth, a little bit below his best. And Nissan Goran with 700. So all lifters over 700 kilos in the 83. Pretty good standard there. Our Australian champion is Kana Chambara. Okay, the middle session. Our 69 kilo women and our 93 kilo men. This was an awesome session.
Yeah, so 69 kilo women, we kind of had a bit of a three-way battle between, well, we thought we were going to have a three-way battle.
Oh, and sorry, and also the 59 men were also in this session.
Oh, yes, 59 men.
We cannot forget our 59.
Let's start with them. So we had three lifters nominated very, very close to one another. And as we suspected, Jonas ended up being too good for the other two. Jonas ended up winning, ended up hitting the world's QT, and he's punched his ticket to Dubai. So shout out to Jonas. Really, really well done. Got the deadlift record. I believe the total record as well, but don't quote me on that.
No total record.
No total record. Okay, just the deadlift record. And in second place was Kay, who finished with 530. Is that right?
535.
535. And he took a 20 kilo jump on his final deadlift to give him 555, which is the world's QT. So he pulled for the world's QT on his final deadlift. Didn't get it. I'm pretty sure it just fell out of his hands, like just above the knee, like he lost it on grip. And then after that, because of that miss, Adrian then went to try and pull himself into silver, and he also missed. So we ended up with Jonas first, Kay second, Adrian third.
Yeah, that's basically it. There's only the three lifters, the three boys. It was a really close battle because there's a lot of misses in the deadlifts. So, for example, Jonas missed his second deadlift, and he repeated it and got it. And so if he missed that, instead of totaling 558, he would have totaled 537.5. And then Kay only would have needed to a much smaller jump in order to take the win. But I suppose he assumed that Jonas was going to make it, and he also wanted to go for the QT, right? So it was a bit of a weird position to be in because Kay could have been more defensive and taken a smaller jump, taken the lead, hoped that Jonas misses, like Chris Yip did earlier. But he, in this context, he might have won nationals but not made the QT, and then it wouldn't have gone to worlds. And so it almost feels like an empty win if you're really locked in and going to a worlds. Similar to Adrian, who was like quite close.
That's kind of what Jonas wanted out of it, right? He wanted to go to worlds. So missing that second deadlift, like obviously you can't go down after a miss anyway. But if he needed less for the win, he would have taken what he needed for the QT anyway. So it's
yes.
It was an interesting one. And we saw that happen actually last year. There was a couple of lifters who were out in front, and then they took a huge jump to try and get the world's QT, like a 20 kilo deadlift jump to try and get the world's QT, and missed, and then left their spot open for someone else to win nationals. So we actually saw that last year, that people were gunning for the QT instead of gunning for just the win or defending the win.
Yes, very, very interesting kind of conflict of interest, I suppose, because, like if you want to go to worlds, winning doesn't feel like it counts. Or like, I'm sure there have been these situations that even in this championships where you need a 250 kilo deadlift to win or a 257.5 kilo for the QT. And so you just go for the weight that's like too much for the win. And so you end up giving up an Australian title for the sake of the chance of going to worlds. But anyway, it's all very tough. So 59 kilo men.
I remember one time Nikolai Cushing did that where he pulled for, I think it was 800 on the dot. And he only needed like 793 or something to win. And he just didn't care. He was like, I want to do 800 and I'll also win. And he got it. Remember that? Classic.
That's dope. That's very Rand-esque, which we'll get to. But yeah, 59 kilos. Congratulations, Jonas Madeira, 558 Australian champion. Our 69 kilo women.
Yep. So
was a doozy.
We thought we had a 3-horse race for first, which quite quickly turned into a 2-horse race for first, with Hannah and Leanne executing a lot better than Caitlin did through 6 lifts. And you can also actually throw Lungy into that, where she had a not good day, going only 3 for 9 across the day, and kind of, if she'd picked up a couple extra kilos here or there, would have been a very, very solid chance at a podium. But, with Kate and Lungy not executing earlier on, Hannah was for sure the strongest lifter on the day, but only made 1 squat, which put her a little bit behind where she probably thought she would be. She probably expected to make some lifts and do way too much for Leanne to actually be able to even attempt a pull for the win. But with a couple of misses, she kind of kept it close enough for Leanne to be able to have a crack for the win. Leanne attempting 207.5 to beat Hannah by 1.5 kilos, I believe. And got it all the way to the top. Fucking grinded it so hard. Literally got it to lockout, got the down call, and then dropped it. Like, that is the closest I've ever seen anyone to winning and not winning. Like, that's the closest that you can ever possibly be to winning and not winning, unless you like made a pull for the win and then the jury overturned it or something. Like, that's probably the only other way that it could be closer. Leanne executed to a much higher standard than Hannah did, and was so close, and I think would have been a very deserving national champion had she just held onto that deadlift for half a second longer. But Hannah was the stronger lifter, and despite a couple of misses on squat depth, she did enough on deadlifts to, force that miss out of Leanne. So huge congratulations to Hannah on winning, I believe, her first national championship. I know she's been reasonably close in the past, getting on the podium a couple of times. I think she came second last year in the 76 kilo class. And 2024, she came fourth in the 69 kilo class. So congratulations to Hannah for getting to the top of the podium for the first time. And congratulations to Leanne for getting so close to getting to the top of the podium for the first time. And then in third, we had my lifter Kate, who had a pretty rough day early on. She got her third squat and had 2-to-1 on depth. She got all her benches, but had 2 of them taken away from her by the jury. Well, actually, just the first one taken away by the jury. The last one was 2 red lights for hips coming off the bench. So, her subtotal was not reflective of... Hers was much more egregious than yours. But her subtotal was not reflective of how strong she was on the day. But Kate, being the big deadlifter that she is, she essentially did enough on her second deadlift to lock in a podium spot, with Lungy attempting to try and pull ahead of her and missing on her final deadlift. We decided to go for 220 because it's a cool number and no other reason, and put 5 kilos on her own national deadlift record. So, yeah, Kate finished in third with, I can't remember how many kilos on total, 462.5, is that right?
Correcto. Fuck, you're good, man.
And Lungy was 452.5. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, nailed it. So, just to recap,
Hannah for 476.
486.
Leanne, 486, sorry. Leanne 477.5, is that right?
480.
480, yep. So those two were actually quite a bit ahead of Kate and Lungy, and then Kate in third. And yeah, 69 class.
Very good battle. It's worth mentioning as well that Leanne was like 8 out of 8 going to the last deadlift. And so it's almost like, in hindsight, Hannah was the clear favorite, I suppose. In hindsight, she was a favorite at least. And so she stumbles on the squats, stumbles on the bench. It almost feels like the shark is behind her and is about to get her, but Hannah just survives at the last lift. Because I will tell you that last deadlift as well, 192.5, that Hannah Altman did, was freaking hard. Like, it was so hard. And I didn't think she was going to get it. Like, when I saw the 5 kilo jump go in, I thought, that's going to be really, really close. And maybe that's just her style. Like, I think she's a grinding deadlift. So
also worth noticing, World's QT 485, so she did 486. So
okay, so that must have been part of the... Yes, that was part of the decision-making. I did remember hearing that spoken. So, in some sense, I don't want to use the word lucky, but fortunate, I suppose, to get that last deadlift. And like you said, Leanne was so close. It was like... If Leanne needed 206.5 to win, she might have gotten 206.5. It was just so close. So a little bit of unlucky there, but I know Leanne was pretty happy about it. Like, her and Hannah are really close. I think they train together and they're very friendly. So, and yeah, just a sick battle there. Luggy was in 452.5 with fourth. Fifth was Jess Lamb with 435. Reki Byrne with 415, and then Alexandra Bonner with 392.5. So 69 kilo women. Awesome. Congratulations, Hannah Altman, our Australian champion at 69. And our 93s.
So, other than this actually might have been the best battle of the weekend, as far as the most number of contenders for the top spot. And, I feel like the way this one went, it could have gone 4 directions. Like, it really, truly could have. There could have been 4 different national champions, and I don't think you can say that about any of the other weight classes. So we had Josh Takua in first with 817.5. He got 3 squats. He missed his second bench and came back and got it. I believe he actually only just beat the press command. Came back and got it. It was very hard. So probably didn't actually lose any kilos on bench. And then he deadlifted 330, which gave him the total record and put him in the lead over who was coming next, which was Kevin Lai, who also needed 330. He had his first deadlift go no lift, and they went up. I think it was 300 to 320 or 305 to 320.
5 to 320.
305
So-
320.
And so
320.
going to the last deadlifts, Josh was, like at the end of the second round, Josh was behind by 2.5 kilos. So Josh was on 807.5 and Kevin was on 810.
Yeah, so
Josh hits the
pulled
10
to
kilo jump.
817.5. Kevin went after him with the same weight, and unfortunately got 2-1, no lift for I think soft knees. Really brutal call. I think the referees got it right, but it was so close that like it could have gone either way. And it's one of those ones where you look at it and if you were coaching him, you'd be like, oh, like I can see it, but I hate it. So yeah, unlucky for Kevin. Kevin Lee, I called him Kevin Lie during the whole recap show and during the SPD shows. His name is actually Kevin Lee. His partner messaged me and was like, he's pronounced Lee, so I apologize. It's Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee was still in second at that point, and Josh was in first. We then had Simon Shahade come out for 355.5, which would have given him 818, which would have given him the win over Josh Takua. He didn't actually get to the knee, so it wasn't actually that close. Interestingly enough, with Simon, he passed on his second deadlift because his pecs were cramping on his opener. So he opened at 320, pecs were cramping, skipped his second deadlift, and just waited to see what he needed. 355.5 was the number that he needed to win, and he went for it and didn't quite get it. But I think Simon did really well in that he was actually able to collect all, if not most, of the kilos that he had in him. Sorry, one second. All, if not most of the kilos that he had in him up to that point. So he wasn't deadlifting like more than necessary at that point. He was just further ahead, like he was just further behind than he could actually make up. So, something that we said in the previous show is like we hope that Simon goes 6 for 6. He didn't. He went 4 for 6, but the second attempts were close enough to the limit that he actually didn't really give up kilos. So he didn't really give up kilos, and he still wasn't close enough to actually pull for the win. I don't know how much of the pec cramp thing had to do with that, whether he would have, if he was feeling healthier, been able to do it. The other person worth mentioning is Jonathan Caruso, who missed one squat on depth, ended up taking the bench record on his second attempt and his third attempt, and then only got one deadlift. So missing one deadlift really took him out of contention there, and the other guys were able to leapfrog ahead of him. He did still finish in third, so Simon had the opportunity to put himself at any position on the podium at the end there, decided to go for gold like he always does, and stayed in fourth, so Jonathan was able to stay in third.
Great recap there, Alex. Like, your numbers were pretty much all bang on. I will say, you mentioned that Simon Shahade didn't cough up too many kilos. He did a little bit on the squat because he jumped 5 kilos, got it, and then was overturned. So again, a little bit like my bench press there, where you're just like so upset because you did the lift, you were 2/3 of the way there, literally, and then the honest truth comes behind you, and the video review, the VAR comes in and gets you. So, I mean, 5 kilos, was that enough? Like, probably not. Like you said, his deadlift wasn't that close, but when 5 kilos is 5 kilos, I'd rather have to deadlift 5 kilos less than actually do it.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a funny position for Simon when he gets that last deadlift, because I think of it like a menu. You're looking at the menu and you're like, what do I want? What do I want for lunch today? Do I want to get a bronze medal and I only need to deadlift, 340? Do I go for a silver medal and I deadlift 342.5 or whatever it is? Or do I want the gold medal, go 355.5? So you've got the choice is yours, and kudos to him, because many other people would rather just take a safe medal, but he went for broke, and it just wasn't there for him. Big congratulations to Josh Takua. One interesting fact about the top 4 is Josh was the only one to go 3 out of 3 on deadlifts. The others all went 1 out of 3.
Oh, wow.
Caruso, Kevin, and Shahade went 1 out of 3. Now, a little bit deceiving there. Simon skipped a deadlift. Kevin missed his opener, then got his second, so kind of in a way 2 out of 3. But yeah, Josh executed and a deserving Australian champion. Although the fact that he's from across he's from across the Tasman doesn't count.
Yeah, so Josh has had a lot of question marks on him since he came back to the IPF about his execution. And I think this performance has answered all of those. He was able to get 3 squats, no red lights for depth. He was able to get all of his deadlifts. He benched what he could on the day, and he executed at the end, and he made some clutch lifts, and he literally executed his way to a national title. and it was the other guys who were not executing that limited their ability to get to the national title. You know, we mentioned Chahadi missing on depth. We mentioned Caruso missing on depth. We mentioned Kevin missing a couple of deadlifts that were a little bit soft. Josh didn't have any of those issues, and usually he's the one who is falling short because of execution reasons. But in this instance, he was able to do what he needed, and he was able to win. And it's such a good sight to see someone who's had those issues in the past rectify them, come out and like truly deserve to win.
Very well said there, Alex. So rounding out our 93 kilo men, we had Joseph Wee with 763, Lennox Liu with 760, Aaron Robani with 742.5, equaling the total of Dean Sabawu with 742.5, Ethan Lim with 730, Jade Benedictos with 712.5. So 10 lifters in the 93 is very deep. We do need to move on, Alex. Our evening session on the Sunday, we've got 2 sessions left, but they're great ones. The evening session was our 105 kilo men and our 76 kilo women. You had front seats to this one again, coaching Brittany Romas, who was eventually our Australian champion at the 76 kilo women.
Yeah, so Brittany came in, I would say, a reasonably heavy favourite over Aislinn Otway. And I feel like the competition was almost done after 3 squats. And you were commentating this session, emceeing this session. So you actually said the same thing a couple of times. You know, this squat will probably take her one step closer to the national championship. And Brittany was genuinely flawless on the day. I mentioned Kian being, you know, maybe the most impressive male performance of the weekend. I feel like Brittany was probably the most impressive female performance of the weekend. A 9-for-9 day, squatting 205, just 1 kilo shy of the record set by Aislinn on the day on her second attempt, benching the Australian record, deadlifting the Australian record, pushing her own total record up by 12.5 kilos. And like truly a dominant performance from start to finish, 9-for-9, no mistakes, not a single red light, just like flawless. And coming in second was Aislinn Otway, who went 6-for-9. So she went 2-for-3 on squat, missing a 5 kilo jump from her second to third, 206 to 211, missing a 2.5 kilo jump on bench from 97 to 100, and missing, I can't remember what her second deadlift was, but missing 218 on the final deadlift. And I feel like she dropped it at the top as well. It was very close. But, you know, even though that deadlift wouldn't have changed her placing at all, she was behind by a good chunk. Can you tell me again what she totaled?
516.
Okay.
So about 25-ish kilos behind, 24 kilos behind.
Yeah. So Brittany, miles in front, dominant performance from start to finish, executed like a champion, 3-time national champion now, 2 times in this weight class and once in the 69 kilo class. And yeah, like a star in the making, like a true star of Australian powerlifting.
Well said, Alex. Yeah, Brittany killed it 9 out of 9. Aislinn Otway 6 out of 9. Just goes to show that if you don't make lifts, Alex, it's harder for you to win Australian championships. Third place was Dorota Bragg with 475. She put on a great performance as well. Like, I know that she hit PBs across the board. She missed her last bench, which was 2.5 kilo jump. So kind of squeezed out everything she could get there. And she really needed that last deadlift to defend against Lauren Findlay, because Lauren Findlay finished with 472.5, while Dorota finished with 475. Now, Lauren was the heavier lifter, and she would have needed 5 kilos more than her total to have taken that bronze medal. But Lauren also had a great day. She also went 8 out of 9, only missing 1 bench press. And so the battle for third was actually a lot close. It was very, very close. Like I said, both of those girls that finished third and fourth, Bragg and Findlay, 8 out of 9. If either of them missed a squat or a deadlift, the result would have been the other way around. So very, very close. And in fifth place was Steph Iosia, who went for the deadlift record twice, both on the second attempt and third attempt, missed it both times. She finished with 460. And in sixth place, Trinity Russian with 452.5. As you said, I was commentating this session live. And it was just awesome. Awesome to see. Great session by the girls. Very high standard. And like you said, as close to a flawless performance as you could possibly have by Brittany Romas. I was very impressed. Yeah, great coaching as well, Alexander.
Oh, thank you. I didn't do anything. She came off. I'm like, do you want this number? She's like, yep. And then I wrote it down. That was it. That was the extent of my work. Quickly on Dorota, who's coached by Liz. Liz was like so pumped. I think she did a 35 kilo total PB on the road to a bronze medal at nationals. So yeah, shout out to her. Awesome execution and performance, and very well deserved podium getter.
The 105 kilo men's session was also really deep. 9 lifters, very, very close placings, especially that middle pack, like the middle kind of 3rd to 7th-ish was very close. Who was our Australian champion here, Alex?
So going into this one, we knew it would be a 2-horse race for first, and then like a 6-horse race for third, which is essentially what happened. We had Anthony Hill versus Sam Forsberg as the bronze medal contenders. Hill was able to take out the
gold medal contenders. Yeah.
What did I say?
Yeah, I think you said bronze medal contenders. Gold medal contenders.
Gold,
yeah.
First place winners, contenders for the title. We had Hill taking it out and winning the gold medal, totaling 855, which is 8 kilos below his best, and actually missing a squat and a bench press. And, a small jump on a squat, only 8.5 kilos missed there from 315 to 323.5. And quite a big jump miss on the bench press, 205 to 217.5. So he did give up some kilos. The 323 that he was trying to chip on the squat is his own record, so not quite up to his best in the squat at the moment, and still able to win the national title. Whereas on the other hand, Sam Forsberg, he was 8 for 8 through 8 lifts. He squatted, I believe, 307. He benched 310. He benched 187.5. And his second deadlift put him at 827.5, which for him is total PB. And they were kind of just sitting around and waiting to see what they needed. They decided to put on 360 for the win after Anthony did 345. Is that right? 345?
335.
335. Sorry, Anthony did 335?
Yeah, 12.5 kilo jump from the second. So he did 322.5 in the second, went to 335 on the third. So he added 12.5 kilos to his total to get to 855. Yep. If he missed that last deadlift, he would have been on 842.5. So
Sam actually only needed 358 for the win because the national record is 357.5. Just coincidentally, only half a kilo more is what he needed, which is actually really cool. I think that Jared and Tom just didn't know that the record was what it was. They probably thought it was higher and thought they needed the full 2.5 with Sam being the heavier lifter. They went for 360. I don't think that 358 was happening either, and it kind of didn't get to the knee, and it was kind of over pretty quickly. So, yeah, Hill, deserving national champion, a bit maybe some load selection errors in there, and he can clean that up, and he can get sort of closer towards 900 kilos. And, yeah, I feel like Sam had a bit of extra room in the squat. I feel like perhaps they need to be a little bit more aggressive earlier on in the comp and not, rely on deadlift being the one that saves them. But yeah, we'll see what they decide to do moving forward. But yeah, cool battle to watch, and always fun to see people trying to pull for the win at a national championships like this.
I will say it's easier to say that if they could have been more aggressive on that squat, but at the same time, if they were more aggressive on that squat and missed it, we would have been doing this review. Yeah. We would have been doing this recap and saying they needed to be less aggressive on that squat, build the total, have your fingers crossed that something goes wrong for Anthony Hill. So it goes both ways, but I do agree with the sentiment there. And it's also worth noting, again, the final scoreline is a 28 kilo gap, but anything can happen. If Anthony Hill lost balance on that last deadlift, 12.5 kilo drop, then suddenly Forsberg doesn't need 360, needs 347.5. And is that within range? We'll never know.
Probably, yeah.
And we would have been we're having a conversation about how Anthony Hill only went 6 out of 9 and lost, and Forsberg went 9 out of 9 and won. And so it's one of my favorite things about lifting. It's such a fine line between such different results. Because
yeah, I mean this happens
so
in
much
all
weighs
sports,
up on one lift.
All sports come down to moments, and who can win those particular moments that matter is the team or the person who wins. You see this in every sport. There's one particular tackle or particular basket in basketball where it changes the whole momentum of the competition. If we have one missed squat from a lifter, now we end up chasing, and then now maybe we overreach on bench, and then we have to reach way further on deadlift. Whereas if we just tried to squat 5 kilos less, we're right there and we can win. So it's really easy for us to sit here and talk about hindsight. No, you should have done this, you should have done that. But these are nuanced decisions. These are complicated decisions to make in the moment. And, you only get 60 seconds to make the decision. So you don't have all of the answers in front of you. You don't get the cheat sheet about what's going to happen or how much he's actually got. You have to kind of guess in a way. You have to use your eyes and use your deductive powers to decide in the moment. And it's difficult to do under pressure.
Correcto. Our bronze medal position, maybe a small surprise, I will say, but one that I was very happy to see Callan Gibbons with
795 he did.
Yeah, correct. Because what was his last deadlift?
327.5.
To have given him
800.
Yeah, exactly right. So Callan Gibbons in the bronze medal position. He did miss one lift early in the day. That second attempt
he missed
squat.
his second squat at 290. And they decided to just go up to 300 anyway, which was awesome. And he was able to get that. So a huge milestone for any lifter to get their first 300 squat. I'll be waiting another 15 years to get mine. When are you going to get yours, John? Oh, you've squatted 300 equipped.
I've done it cheating mode, but I don't think I'll ever do it at 74 at least. I don't think that's in my future. You never know. With a little bit of... It's a lot. It's a lot. No, 300 kilo squat by Callan was awesome. Again, another one where, it's very ballsy to jump 10 kilos when you've missed the lift. Obviously missed it on depth. Well, not obviously, but missed it on a technicality. If you're going to go up 10 kilos, it's unlikely that someone misses on strength and goes up 10 kilos. But missed on a technicality. A jury overturn, actually.
Yeah.
So again, one of those ones where I see two alternate universes where Callan misses that third squat because they're a bit too overzealous and they miss out on the bronze medal position in that world, or maybe risk. Well, yeah, they definitely would have missed a bronze medal because they would have lost 25 kilos on the total. Or another world is you miss the second squat and you decide to repeat, and they cough up 10 kilos, and maybe they get it on. Let's assume he gets it on the third. Instead of jumping up from the missed second to the third, you just repeat the weight. And now you've opened the door for someone else. And that someone else, in this case, was Matt Bartholomew, who came in fourth. So, the way that things landed, very deserving result by Callan. Awesome result, 795 bronze medal. But again, a lot closer than it looks, even though on the score sheet, Matt Bartholomew was 17.5 kilos behind.
Yeah, and Matt had a squat miss of 17.5. If you look through, 295 on the second and 312.5 on the third. When Matt came off the platform after his second, he's very in tune with his body at this point. And we spoke before the comp, and I said to him, he said to me, actually, I know what I can squat, so I'll tell you, and then I'll let you choose the rest. And he came off and he's like, 312 is it. It's definitely there. We're good for it. And I was like, fucking oath, he's so confident. I'll write it down. Let's go. And it honestly wasn't as close. It wasn't actually that close. He maybe had 305, maybe had 307.5. So yeah, to cough up kilos there made it really hard for Matt to get back in the race because Matt is a stronger squatter than Callan. He's done 307 in a comp before. Callan, that was his first 300, but we were behind by 5 kilos. It's very difficult to make up those kilos elsewhere, particularly with Callan being such a big deadlifter. But the other surprise for me was Josh Allen. He only got one squat, he only got one deadlift. He was nominated at 800, which actually nominated him at third. I don't know where he finished or what his total was, but it was quite a bit below that.
Yeah, finished in fifth, another 2.5 behind Matty B. As you said, to get one squat, one deadlift, it's very hard to be competitive in that context. And yeah, that's the result, I suppose.
Callan, well-deserving bronze medalist. He showed up, he executed. He had that moment where he could have repeated that squat. He could have missed that 300, but he was able to dial in that moment, win that moment, and give himself a big advantage over Josh and over Matt at that time. Awesome
result there. Congratulations to Anthony Hill, Australian champion. Okay, Sunday morning, we had one session. A couple of small groups here. It was obviously our heavyweight, so 120 men, 120 plus men, and as well as our 84 women and 84 plus women.
So, of all the sessions, this was the one that had pretty much no actual battles for first. Every other session on the day had at least one battle or one weight class that was decided in that moment. Whereas these ones were all pretty much predetermined before we started, except for probably the super heavyweight men, where once Tony made his third squat, it was pretty much his. He had it. Should we start there? Should we start with the super heavyweight men?
Yeah, well, why not?
So I was handling Tony. When Tyler sent me through the plan, I was like, fuck, there's no way that anyone's going to beat him with these numbers. Like, these numbers are huge. His first squat was actually not very good. Like, he misgrooved it, lost his balance. It was way harder than it should have been at 390. I almost said 290, 390. And we decided to take a smaller than planned jump just to go to 408, which he absolutely blew up. And then we went to 420 and a half, which again was quite comfy. There was probably another 5 kilos in there or 7.5 kilos in there. So really good start for Tony, 3 for 3 from squats. And Rangi made 375, but unfortunately Jackson only got one squat with both of them being called for depth, his first and his third attempts being called for depth. So Jackson was essentially out of the race for the win after squats at that point, with Rangi a very outside chance and Tony, the big favourite at that point. It would have had to been close to a disaster for Tony to not win from there with essentially a 50 kilo lead, a 45.5 kilo lead over Rangi. Bench came around and Tony got 215, missing 220. Can't remember what Rangi benched.
205, missing 212. They all went 2 out of 3, actually. Everyone, all those superheroes.
Jackson 222, missing 230 and a half. Is that right? 230.
230, yeah.
Yep. So, again, a further lead for Tony at this point, pushing him ahead by about 55 kilos. Yeah, 55.5 kilos ahead on the subtotal over Rangi. So, we knew at that point we essentially need to make 2 deadlifts and Rangi will be too far away. Tony made all of his deadlifts. Rangi actually made none of his deadlifts. He actually bombed. So he was looking like a pretty safe silver medalist at that point, and he got to the top of his first deadlift. Very, very soft knees, 3 red lights. They decided to go up, I think, by 20 or 25.
25, yeah. 310 to 335.
And I'm not sure the decision-making there, particularly when Rangi was pretty much locked into the silver medal at that point with Jackson not doing particularly well on the subtotal. They decided to go up maybe to try and keep themselves within range of pulling to beat Tony. But at that point in the meet, you have to get yourself on the board and get yourself on the podium. Like, at least he's a bronze medalist. At the very least, if he reattempts, he's a bronze medalist, with only Caleb being the other lifter who was quite a bit behind. So they decided to go up. Rangi can't hold it at the top twice, misses his second, misses his third, and unfortunately leaves without a total. And Caleb comes in and Stephen Bradbury's his way to the podium.
Nice Winter Olympic reference there.
Yes,
yeah, Caleb with 730. Yeah, with 730. Yeah. So our podium is Tony Reinmuth, then Jackson Stubblefield, then Caleb Fitzgerald-Ruguri with 730. So, like you said, bit of a shame for Rangi to get the old BMB, no result. It was interesting. Like, I was helping you out with Tony a little bit, and you were very aware of the others. Like, obviously Tony was the favorite, but you were always conscious of just like, one eye over the back of the shoulder, not getting too distracted, I think. This goes back to the conversation we had earlier about the only way you lose these situations if something goes terribly wrong. For you now, ironically, it went the other way where Rangi had a terrible deadlift session, but you were, I think, the right amount of cautious. Like, just, Tony was always going to win, but you've always got to have one eye over your shoulder, and I think you did a good job with that. So, Tony 950, Australian record total, Australian record squat. Great result for him.
Yeah, I think, the plan was actually a lot. The plan was like in the 430s for squat, and we did, 10 kilos less than that. He missed his last bench, even though we were being conservative on it, taking a 10 and then a 5. And then the deadlift, we took a 10 and a 5. So we were actually very conservative across the board. And it was more than enough to get the win. And I'm glad that we didn't sort of overreach too far and leave the door open at all, because it was shut. As soon as Tony Diaz's first deadlift, it was over. Yeah,
of course. The 120 men, also 4 lifters. Our Australian champion is
Josh Lenivia for the third time.
Yes, unsurprisingly. Broke the Australian record squat with
326.5. 330.5.
330.5, yes, good one. 330.5. And he also went for the Australian bench record, which was his own.
He did.
Missed that one.
6.5, missed that, yep.
Good one. And went for a 17.5 kilo jump on deadlift to get him a 900 kilo total. But unfortunately, it was a no lift with 352.5. So he finished the day with 883.
83, yep.
Yeah, of course.
So I found out on Saturday that Cody Wilkes had actually pulled out. So I didn't know until the day before. And I obviously coached Charles, and that kind of opened the door. We're like, okay, Charles is pretty much a guarantee for the podium here, and maybe even a chance at the silver medal. And it was a fun battle between Michael Rand and Charles. Michael going 9 for 9 and putting up his best ever total. I think he hit 850, is that correct? 850 on the dot?
Yeah, 850.
Yep, which is a 14.5 kilo total PB from his best. Just, I think, his second meet in the 120s. But interestingly enough, Charles having a really good day. He missed his second squat on a jury over 10 for soft knees. We decided to go up anyway. It was similar to the Callan situation. We went up 10. He made that 295. He benched 200. And then his final deadlift, we did just enough to put him ahead of Michael, to force Michael to just take a small jump to get the silver medal back. And Michael said, you know what, fuck that. I'm going for 850 and I don't care about the silver medal. And he got it and got the silver medal as well. So shout out to Michael Rand. Huge execution at the end there.
Yeah, exactly as you said. So the score sheet is Michael Rand at 850, Charles Kafusi at 832.5, so 17.5 kilos behind Randy. Obviously, in hindsight, Randy would have gotten any weight that he needed to. But very professional decision there by team process to at least put yourself in the silver medal position temporarily. I was super impressed. I didn't expect Randy to get that. I thought, what is he doing? This is way too overzealous. But sometimes you roll the dice and it hits. So congratulations to Randy. A silver medal at the Australian Championships.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Josh total 883, which is his third best ever total, but actually missed a couple of lifts. And Josh isn't one to usually miss lifts. So I think we'll see the decision-making cleaned up and the execution cleaned up a little bit. He did say after his third bench that his back cramped like crazy, and he was like cramping and so stiff after that third bench. So that may have had an impact on the deadlift as well. But yeah, I do fully expect to see Josh get over that 900 mark very soon.
Okay, our 84 kilo women Australian champion was, of course, none other than
Yanni Zhao.
Yan Fei Zhao with, you better know these totals.
547.0.
Very good. Absolutely stole the show. Won by 50 kilos, more or less. Was never really in danger. What's that? 49.5 kilos.
49.5, yeah.
It was 49. It was 49.5. You're too good, Alex. It's frustrating. But Destiny Batman Paris with 497.5. Awesome showing, came second. And third, very, very close battle also, was
Ajwa Hammond. She pulled 212.5 to give her, 210, to give her the lead over Rebecca Tanchevsky, who had pulled just before her to put herself into third. But not only did that lift put Ajwa into third, it also extended Lisa to attempt 217, which she did not have. So really good decision made from Maddie B to put the right number on the bar, not just to secure that podium position, but also force the next lifter to do too much. So it can be difficult when you're in those positions. It's she could have done a little bit less to put herself in that position, but it may not have forced Lisa into enough to a miss. So you've kind of got to find that balance sometimes.
Yeah, correct. So our podium was Yan Fei Zhao 547, Destiny Batman Paris 497.5, and Ardua Hamoud with 490, and then Rebecca Tanchevsky 480, Lisa Redelic with 477.5, so very quite close as you described, and then Christy Island on 417.5. So 84 kilo women had 6 lifters in there. Yanni, absolute star as always. Another title, another Worlds that she'll be going to this year. And there are 84 kilo plus women. Only 3 women here. So third place was Ashley Awanaska. She won our bronze medal with 447.5. Wasn't really a battle. Silver medal went to Sokovetti with 477.5. So 30 kilos ahead. Both of those lifters went... Sokovetti went 7 from 9 and Ash went 6 from 9. But our top lifter, she went 9 out of 9. It was...
Lucy.
Of course. And what was her total, Alex?
I actually can't remember. 647.5, is that right?
That is such a good guess, but it's not it. It's so close though.
657.5.
Yeah, 657.5. Nice.
I knew it was a 7.5 on the end. So, yeah, not Lucy's best total, but, you know, similar to Yanni, like a lot of outside the gym stuff going on and just like, hey, let's get to this comp. Let's put up a good day and let's get ourselves to Worlds like in one piece and sort of like in a good position to do a full prep and then get ourselves to our best in the next prep. So very similar situation to Yanni, is like uncontested. Let's go in, let's make lifts, except Lucy's final deadlift actually put her ahead of Vicky on GL. Exactly what she needed to put Vicky ahead on, to put her ahead of Vicky on GL and win the best overall lifter. So Vicky competed Friday morning, first session, got like 110 GLs or something, 111, and was in the lead until the last lift of the female session. Almost like 30 minutes to go in the whole competition, was in the lead for best lifter and then just got pipped at the end. So got a feel for Vicky there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the advantage of lifting last, but also great coaching. Like literally the coaches would have, as soon as the weigh-ins were done, going, oh, cool, what's your official weight? Cool, what do we need to total? All right, let's just pace ourselves to get there, because Lucy had a 9 out of 9 day. Below her best, obviously. But they just went, well, if we just get our third squat, we get our third bench, and we get our third deadlift, we'll win best lifter. If we miss a lift along the way because of a technicality, then Vicky would be the deserving winner. But kudos to Lucy and her team for great attempt selection, load selection, execution, and she's Australian champion in the 84 plus as well as best female lifter.
And that's 2 years in a row as best overall lifter. 2 years in a row at nationals.
Okay, a couple of things to round out before we round up the show. If Alex has got another 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
I have got 6 minutes.
All right. So we know that our best female lifter was Lucy. Our best male lifter was Kian. Who was the best lifter to not win their weight class on points?
Ed Zhang.
On both sides. So on the male side, you're going with Ed as potentially best male.
Uh-huh.
And what about women's side?
Ainsley.
Nailed it. Yeah, Ainsley on the women's side. So she finished, do you know where she finished in the rankings?
Yeah, like 4th, I think, or 5th.
Yeah, 4th best lifter. So it's like you would have won an Australian title in any other weight class, almost, except for the fact that you have to share a platform with Vicky K.
Yeah, and also like 4th in Carpino as well. So like super high on that. Whatever system you look at, she's super high.
And on the men's side, it wasn't Ed Zhang.
It was Carver.
Carver, nice. Yeah, good one. He also weighed really light. Carver weighed like 80.4 or something, or 80 point. What did he weigh? Yeah, 80 point something. So that helps him out. So so those are the best lifters to not win. Who was the? I don't want to use the word weakest, but who had the lowest IPF points to win an Australian title this year? Who won? Who's the Australian champion with the lowest IPF points?
In both genders.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Hannah Altman and Tony Rymouth.
Bro, you haven't checked these, by the way. I need to tell everybody that not only are we doing this show with Alex, not looking at the results, I only told him like 20 minutes before, or like literally 20 minutes before the show. I was like, hey, I've got this idea. So it's not like he had all week to study the results, knowing that we're going to do this. Yeah, Hannah Altman is actually a wild pick because she finished 11th as best female lifter. So there are only 8 weight classes. So like 11th is actually really high to finish. So that means every woman that won their title was in the top 11 best female lifters. So it goes to show it's like the women are actually really even across the board. So Hannah Altman, 11th best lifter and won her weight class. So she's Australian champion. So like the worst of the champions, but also very, very good standard, obviously. And you're definitely right on the men's as well. Tony Rymouth, Australian champion on best lifter points. He scored 94 points.
Really, that's my GL.
He came 37th.
He sucks, dude.
That's insane. Shut up. That's insane, though, right? That's actually a really insane stat to be Tony Rymouth and be 37 best male lifter is just like insane. All right, a couple of quick other ones because we have to wrap this up. But another talking point that I would have loved to spend a bit more time on was the jury. How many lifts overall were overturned, men's side, women's side, if you had to guess? Obviously, you don't know, but you had to guess.
On each side?
Yeah. So there was 50, just to remind everybody, or to tell everybody, there's 51 women and 54 men. So about 100 lifters overall. How many lifts were overturned?
In total or each side?
Yeah, in total or on each side, however you want to do it.
I'm going to go with 35 total.
That's a really good guess. It was 31 in total. So 16 on the men's side and 15 on the women's side. So we had 31 overturns, and I'm not going to make you guess these because these are just like insane stats about this. But of the 15 overturns on the women's side, all of them were good lift to no lift.
Yeah.
And on the men's side, all but 2 were
I remember
good
one
lift
of
to
them.
no.
I remember one of them.
Who was it?
Don't remember the other one. I remember being there and being like, wow, that's surprising. Can't remember who it was. Oh, no, it was Tony. It was Tony's second attempt.
And interestingly, Rangi's second attempt squat as well.
Oh, okay.
They were the only 2 no lifts to good lift overturns for the whole weekend. And so the reason I wanted to bring this up was like, it goes to show that when you have a jury, more lifts get turned down compared to when you don't have a jury. Because by definition, if the jury weren't there, then 31 lifts that were overturned. So 29 otherwise good lifts, or would have been, or what ended up being no lifts would have been good, if that makes sense. So the strike rate was actually really like low. Like I haven't checked it compared to previous nationals, but I mean, compared to this nationals, if the jury weren't there, it would have been a lot more green lights on the board, a lot more white lights on the board. Not more white lights, but more green lifts.
Yeah. See, this my issue with the jury is that the jury is aware of the lift fault when they watch the replay because we have the cards. So if you see a squat and it's red lights, they can see the red card next to the red light. So now that only thing that they're looking at is depth, which I think adds an element of likelihood that the lift gets overturned because it is the only thing that is being viewed. They're not looking at soft knees. They're not looking at other things. They're not looking at the commands, blah, blah, blah. They're only looking at depth in that instance. So I feel like if I was, like changing the IPF the way that they do the jury, I would have the jury blind rate every lift beforehand, like maybe using the same camera angles they use, or perhaps just watching with their eyes. And then if there is a 2-to-1, those lights then pop up and are shown. Because I feel like there are too many instances where the jury is like putting one particular rule under a microscope and ignoring the rest of it to try and find a fault. It's almost like they're trying to find a fault as opposed to giving the benefit of the doubt, which is, by rule book, what we actually want is we want benefit of the doubt to go to lifter. So I feel like if the jury has to like use a microscope to find, was it high? I don't know. If it's then it should go with what the referee says, in my opinion. So I feel like the jury, it was good to have a jury because it is good to have the ability to ensure that no lifts that are scrappy and don't deserve to be passed get passed, because that's the standard that we're at nationals. But I do think there could be work to do with how we get to that.
Interesting take there, Alex, and one that I'm sure many people will feel similarly. I'll leave you with one last quiz question before we wrap it up. 104 lifters, 105 lifters. How many bombs did we see? And how many 9 out of 9s did we see?
We saw 2 bombs.
Who are they?
Rangi and Sarah in the 57s.
Yes, correct.
She bombed
so you've nailed it. 2 bombs. How many 9 out of 9s? You're going to have to guess this one, I guess.
I'm going to guess 15.
It's less. 9.
Really?
Out of 105. Yeah, so
Wow.
less than 9% strike rate, 8%, 8.5% strike rate on 9 out
How
of 9s.
many were 8 for 9 with the jury overturn?
Ooh, that'll be a good one. I haven't checked that.
That was Charles and that was Callum.
Yeah, that's
There's
Charles.
2 of those.
That was Alan Zhu. He missed a squat that was overturned. Charles Kafusi. I'm just scanning the results now. 8 out of 9s is a good one that got a jury overturn. I already said Alan Zhu, didn't I?
Yeah, Callum Givens.
Yeah, wouldn't have been many. Basira Khan went 8 out of 9, had her 3rd squat overturned by the jury. That would have been a 9 out of 9. So yeah, like on this theme, it's like 30 lifts or 29 lifts were turned down that otherwise would have been good lift if it was at any other level. So there's a lot less like if you did that, I would be curious if we ran the maths of like what was the average strike rate compared to previous nationals. It'd be much less because there was a jury there, not because the lifters did anything wrong or because the standards have changed. It's just by definition when there's a jury, there's more scrutiny and more missed lifts. So, only 9 lifts. So shout out to those 9 that got 9 out of 9s. 3 of them, Lucy, Britt, and Beggs, Australian champions.
Love to see it.
Apparently, making lifts helps you win Australian championships.
Did anyone else go really low strike rate and win? I guess Hannah was 6 for 9, and Vicky was 5.
Yeah, that would probably be the lowest strike rates.
Liz and Yanni were 8.
Keen was 8. Jonas was 8. Julian was 7. Kana was 7. Josh was 8. Hill was 7. Yeah, all 7s and 8s.
Yep. No surprises there. All right, JP.
All right, Alexander.
Thanks everyone for
listening. That wraps it up.
That'll wrap up Lift Talk 70 something. Everyone knows how autistic I am now. So thanks for that.
That was awesome. I want to say fucking massive shout out to Alex. That was actually, I'm so impressed. I knew you were good, but I didn't expect you to know all the numbers. I was just like, let's see if Alex can remember where they all placed. And then when you started rattling off, well, this lifter finished in first with a total of 400. I was like, whoa, that's good. I'm impressed. Especially because you were there all weekend. So it's like
MC team champs this year.
Well, you'll be too busy winning it, so you're not going to really have a chance.
True that.
But it must be said that I think all the listeners are really going to appreciate it because you would have seen so many lifts, so it's like becomes a blur. Like I'm sure you have that feeling of like, fuck, was it a green and a silver or was it green and a black? Like I don't remember what the weight was, but you nailed it. So good job. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I feel like the only thing that we haven't mentioned is me cooking everyone who tried to guard me on the basketball court. And I feel like that needs to be said. So shout out Lennox, shout out Nate. You guys got cooked.
Good job, Alex. You're very good at sports. All right.
One sport. I'm bad at powerlifting.
Hey, you are just as good as an Australian champion if you're like twice the weight.
Oh, dear. All right.
Oh, dear.
See you, everybody.
Good chats, everybody. Cheers.